Welcome to our water pavilion. This is the launch of Yuli, an art and ceramics collection that I've made with my friend Sarah. Hi, I'm Ling. I'm an artist in Sydney and I make everything from my living room, which is my home art studio. I've also started making a homewares collection with my friend Sarah. She's a ceramicist and she lives in London. And at the start of the Year of the Snake, we both really said that anything is possible for this. So Sarah started hand making pottery in things like matcha ware and dinnerware. I started painting for the very first time and I've turned my works into prints and journals. And we also started working on a whole collection of fragrances in things like candles, incense, and reed diffusers. I feel like every piece that we've worked on this year is so intentionally made, and I love that the whole collection is really inspired by my Chinese and her Korean heritage, and there are so many things that we've found in common. I haven't really shared much of the process in the last few months because so many other things came up, but we are going to be launching this as a full brand in just over a week. I actually wrote a list this morning of everything that isn't quite ready yet, and there's a lot of things, so we don't actually have all of our pieces in one place yet. The pottery is being express shipped from Sarah's studio in London to my house in Sydney, and we're still waiting on some other pieces that we're having made, like matcha whisks, to go with all of our pottery. We also don't have a website and we don't have anything on socials. We don't have many product photos yet while we wait for things to get to my apartment, and we also haven't really had the chance to contact anyone about the launch because we just don't really have anything to show them yet. So I would say that we don't really have a strong plan for any of those things either at this stage, but we have already hired a pavilion inside the Chinese Garden of Friendship for next week, and that date is very set, and I think we do have very clear ambitions and dreams around it. Our pieces are also on their way to Sydney right now, and they should arrive in time for Sarah to get here in a few days as well. So I feel like this week might be very packed, but I do also think that everything could come together just in time, and if it does, I really can't wait to share the whole process of launching with you. It's a very hot summer in Sydney and we are planning an outdoor event. I'm starting to get a bit worried about the forecast, so today I've organised drinks for the venue and I'm going to paint paper fans. I'm using gouache and a Chinese ink brush to paint clouds and cranes. I've actually never done this before and probably should have tested it first, but it's also nice to just make it up as I go and not put any pressure on the process. I decided to use our logo stamp for the first time on the fans, and it took a bit of practice to get the ink even, but I think it made them look so much more complete. I got this stamp engraved a few weeks ago in Zhenyuan, an ancient town that I visited with my family in China. This store had the most beautiful collection of stones, and the owner has awards in calligraphy. He managed to capture the texture that my sister and Sarah designed in our logo, and I really couldn't believe how well it all came out.
这样子，然后站匀了之后，在需要盖的地方就这样往上一摁，就这样轻轻的前后左右一摇就可以了。你看，就非常的轻松，就是这样。
I also had a sample journal and one of Sarah's mugs, and tried to capture them in a few places on that trip too, but I was still waiting on a lot of our final pieces. So I've seen a lot of samples while we designed everything, but today the first boxes of our final products arrived, and we've just been working on things in the background for so many months that it's just really exciting to finally see how it's come together. We sent the last round of samples to London because Sarah's working on matcha bowls and whisk holders. So this is actually my first time seeing the engraving, and I'm so happy with how it came out. The matcha bowl she's been making will be in a similar style to our mugs. They'll have the same clay body and glaze and these really beautiful abstract crane drawings. And I think it will just look so nice together in a set. Sarah's ceramic delivery arrived today and I couldn't wait to unpack everything. My friend Trisha came over and we opened everything together. I actually introduced these two friends when they moved overseas, and it's so nice to know that we can all hang out now. Jace cooked dinner and Trisha actually helped us a lot with planning recently. I feel like she's always so supportive of other people's joy, and she has a big trip coming up to Sri Lanka for the first time in a long time, so we decided to gift her one of our first journals to thank her for all of her support. Today I can style photos because we finally got our delivery of the fragrances we made. I rushed out to find figs, which are in season just in time to match our signature fig and oolong candle. The apartment gets so hot, so I crashed for a while in the heat, but I gathered the strength to move a coffee table back into the sun and film some videos of our matcha ware as well. Now that everything is here, if you like the pieces, it would be great if you could follow us on Instagram at Yuli Kiln, which I'll link below.
Wow. These are the smaller incense holders.
Wow.
So the 15.5s. And then these guys, I think these were 16. I labeled them just in case we wanted to differentiate.
Sarah just arrived in Sydney and came over with her partner Leo. We spent the whole day chatting and eventually did a huge stock take to prepare for the launch.
Actually, what is the final product now? Yes.
We have little flowers, some of her jade, like a teacup, and then it's like just something to show how it looks with other things.
I brought the flower frogs, so we have them.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. So you don't technically need water depending on which flower we buy. But we can go.
Do you want to go anthurium?
Yeah. Yes. They're good.
They're
don't
so
need
pretty.
Water. Yeah.
Oh.
Don't need water for the length of time that we'll be there.
Yeah. Yeah, we can go to the flower market. So Sarah finally arrived in Sydney and spent the whole day and night here yesterday, and we finally got to just hang out and see everything together in one place. It's also quite funny to me because I think we're so overly ambitious and idealistic, and we had this idea that we would be able to write and finish the entire website, take all of our product shots, and basically have everything ready to launch our brand. But it was the first time that we'd seen each other in so long, and all of those things also take a lot of time. So we didn't really get that much done, but there was a lot of progress that we made on the overall vision that I think will really help us. We were able to write a lot of the product descriptions, and we also spent a lot of time writing our about page, which really is like the backstory and the motivation behind the whole thing. So I would love to share it with you. Our website, when we eventually make it, will say the name Yuli means glass in Korean and extra strength in Chinese, and represents the energy that we all save for our creative pursuits. Our collection is like our friendship itself, based on sharing ideas and inspiration. We began by making completely different things in ceramics, painting, and design, but over time we noticed common symbols and motives that we both used in our art without knowing exactly why they felt so familiar. Our shared experience at the centre was a longing to connect more with our heritage. When we traced these motives back, it made sense that we were drawing from the same sources of inspiration because materials and traditional practices have been passed between China and Korea for centuries. The pieces we've made together represent a point in time in our collective journey, and we hope they find a place in your home. I think all of our attention for the last few months and all of our time has actually been on making those pieces themselves. So this was really our first chance to step back and revisit our early inspiration and also to write it all down, which I think will be really helpful as I start reaching out to people this week. I also spent last night making a video because Leo, Sarah's partner, filmed her in the studio just before they left London, and he got the most beautiful footage showing how she's made every single one of our pieces. So I decided to take footage from Korea and China that Jason and I took on our travels and edit it together with footage of Sarah in her studio making ceramics and of me painting here as well. And we've decided to put it on the website when it's ready because I think it just gives such a clear idea of how everything is starting to come together. So one of the main reasons we haven't contacted anyone yet about the launch is because we don't have anything on socials and we haven't really put together something branded to show people when we reach out. But everything that we did yesterday has given me so many more ideas and a much clearer picture about how to introduce our brand in our first few posts. And today I'm just going to focus on editing a few things. So the first one I want to do is an animation, which is just a short looping video that shows everything that inspired the brand. So I want to include things like celadon wares from Korea and Chinese ink brush paintings and kind of give a sense of the symbols that we've both been inspired by for so long. I also think it would be great to introduce the logo that way instead of just sharing it with no backstory and kind of giving a glimpse into the very early stages of our creative process first. I also took quite a lot of footage in China with Jace of the samples that we did have available. So I had a mug and a journal, and we were able to photograph and video them in the most beautiful ancient towns. So I haven't had any time since the trip to actually look back over that footage, but I think today I'm just going to spend a bit of time with my laptop and make the things that I've had in mind for the longest time. Sarah's mum made us japchae for lunch, which was so nice. We looked at so many paintings and talked about the history behind a lot of colours and materials that we're drawn to. I also set up a corner in the apartment with our pieces, and Jace took some photos of us together for our website. I really don't know if these are working or not. It's getting so late, but I had so much editing to do for other photography projects today, and I'm only just starting to look at our product photos now, but luckily Sarah really likes the look of light boxes, which a lot of ceramicists use for their websites, and they don't need any natural light, so I've kind of just left it all for tonight. I can show you our setup. It's so makeshift, just balancing on the corner of our couch. And honestly, I don't actually know if these photos are turning out. I feel like when Jason and I take photos together, we're really focused on capturing landscapes, and we both actually really like it when the subject is very small or blends in because it helps to create such a huge sense of scale. And I feel like even with the product photos that we were taking together in China, we spent a lot more time looking for a setting that could easily capture the story or the feeling that we wanted to show through the product. Whereas with this light box, all of that is completely removed and we're just capturing the subject with a very plain background. So I don't know if they're turning out how they're supposed to, but we thought that we'd try it tonight, and that way when Sarah comes back over tomorrow, she can have a look, and if they're okay, we will really be creating the entire website with them in just one day. So the launch is coming up very soon, and the nicest delivery came just in time. I actually cried a bit when I saw this, but I was here editing some videos from Korea that we want to put on the website, and I'd sent a message to my friend Sue, who lives in New York, to show her some of the outtakes, which bring me so much joy. I just love looking back at the trip that we took there together. And as I sent her that message, Jace let me know that there was a delivery in our mail room, and I actually walked right past this thinking that it's such a nice gift for whoever got it. But it turns out that Sue and Mitty sent this and arranged it all the way from New York. They said, "Congratulations on launching Yuli. We're so proud and inspired by you and are supporting you all the way from NYC. Love you forever, best friend of life." It's so cute. And I think it's actually come at such a nice time because, to be honest, the past few weeks, or maybe even 2 or 3 months, have been an absolute whirlwind. I went to China for a month, came back, and the day after the plane I started photographing events. I had quite a few of them, then went to Singapore the next week, came back and started photographing more events. And within a few weeks I had about 20,000 unedited photos to sort through. I also had some work for other clients and regular work as well. And in between all of that, we started having our products arrive, and I was really excited to start preparing all of our product photography and videos as well. And these are all things that I was looking forward to so much and absolutely loved doing, but because they were all so close together, it just didn't leave too much time in between. And I think it's the first time that I've had a period in quite a long time where I haven't really had a second to just pause and reflect. Every time I finished one thing, I really rushed straight into the next, even if it was quite a big thing to finish, like an entire wedding gallery. But I think that receiving it made me really reflect on how exciting the launch is in itself and how much I actually have been able to do for it this year. But more important than that, it's just another reminder of how lucky I am to be supported by the friends that I have. Later in the afternoon, I wrote thank you cards, and because a lot of people had confirmed they were coming, I was able to start putting together our PR packs. I also started a drawing for my friend Irene, which is actually a mock-up of a painting that I'm planning for her one day. She has been the biggest support for my artworks, and this is a pretty rough sketch, but it will be of a crescent moon which was out at the time that her son was born. It's going to be 42 degrees today, and it was already so hot when we went to the flower market this morning, so we're putting everything straight into water. While Sarah prepped the flowers, I took some missing product shots. Jace also went to find a big envelope so we can give away an art print tomorrow. We're getting everything ready to take to the venue, wrapping the ceramics and putting them into a suitcase to transport them. And for the rest of the night, Sarah and I will probably be right here trying to make our entire website. It's the day of the Yuli launch. And I'm actually so glad that we booked an afternoon event because Sarah and I stayed up so late last night trying to start and finish making the website in just one day, which we kind of managed to do, but it meant that we slept pretty late as well. So I've made an iced matcha in our very own ceramic matcha ware. It's going to be such a hot day in Sydney. It's already like 30 degrees and the humidity is completely out of control. So I'm really glad I decided to make some fans the other day for all of our guests. And we're trying to just keep our flowers in a dark room at the moment. They're all in the bathtub out of the heat. And pretty soon my sister will come over and we can start putting them all in buckets of water and taking everything to the venue. It's also really cute because one of the lotuses has actually started to bloom, and I just feel like this venue is the perfect setting to launch our collection because there are so many symbols and images inside the gardens that actually really influenced our own designs. We hired a water pavilion, so the whole thing is going to be surrounded by a lotus pond. There's also things like hanging lanterns and curved rooftops, which we always come back to in the shapes that we're working with. I am feeling a little bit nervous before the event, just because so many people are coming and we haven't met most of them before, which is actually a bit strange to think about because we kind of just didn't have time to invite people properly until about a week ago. So I would say a week ago we had no idea if even one person was coming. It's not ideal, but it's just the way that all of our timing unfolded. And we started reaching out to friends of friends and sometimes just strangers on Instagram who are into ceramics and art and seeing if they'd be interested in looking at our collection. I think it'll be really cute to have old and new friends inside our little water pavilion. We also have a lot of people coming to help, which I think is very comforting. So I've mentioned my friends Annie and Dan in probably every one of my videos because I feel like they're with me through absolutely everything. Even with this event, they've just gone so far beyond. Dan does a lot of AVs, so he's bringing speakers to play music. And Annie's kind of been nominated for anything because she's just such a helpful friend, but she's going to come early and help us unpack and set up the displays. And she's also offered to take everyone's names as they come in and make sure they leave with the right PR pack. And I think that's just going to be such a big help because Sarah and I have been a little bit scattered as we try to bring everything together. I don't think I've really said anything about the makeup that I'm using because I don't really wear foundation or anything too heavy. Most of what I have on is just this highlighter and blush from Merit, and I would say that I do just want to match it to the color of this dress. It's not like a traditional cheapao or anything, but the silhouette and neckline kind of reminded me of one. And it's not a colour that I wear very often, so I'll probably have a slightly darker blush to go with it. I think I'm nearly ready to go. We did pack pretty much everything yesterday, so we have a lot of gift bags and a large print that I want to give away. We also fit all of the ceramics into some suitcases, and then we've just got the buckets of flowers. And I also need to pack up this camera now because Jace is going to be taking all of our photos and videos during the event. We made it to the gardens and tried to cool down after carrying all of the pieces in.
They're setting up at the moment still. You can go in, there's cold drinks.
So many people offered to help with the display. I feel like Jace also really captured exactly what it feels like to be friends with Annie, who is always so kind and supportive. We also got to meet Kathy, who runs Jade Jewelry, after talking for so long. I asked if she wanted to put some of her jade pieces on our ceramics during the event. Everything came together just in time because a lot of our friends had already started to arrive. We invited a lot of other artists, ceramicists, musicians, food bloggers, and photographers. I also got to invite someone who I met through this channel, which was so nice. We really wanted this collection to be bigger than us, and it was definitely the afternoon that we'd imagined, meeting new friends and sharing ideas. We all came back after the event and were so tired, Leo actually fell asleep on our floor, but there was the most beautiful sunset, so we decorated, made tea, and looked over all of the Polaroids that Yiling took. I've loved seeing the event through everyone else's photos and videos too.
I met Aya for the first time today and we attended the Yuli launch. There's something to be said for the way common interests like love for art and intentional design can make a first time meeting feel like an old one. We spent the afternoon strolling through the Chinese Garden of Friendship. The water reflections and the small textured details of the architecture seem to echo through the Yuli collection itself. I came home with this cup. The heron motif is incredibly fine. It actually mirrors an off-white brooch I thrifted years ago. I'm always interested in the way certain symbols or textures follow you through different chapters of collecting. I spent most of this year collecting cups from my travels, so adding this one gifted by Sarah and Ling feels right. A welcome addition to the shelf and a memory of a perfect summer's day.
I'm packing our very first order today, and it's so exciting because quite a few of our pieces are going to Nellie and her home in Japan. So the first thing she picked up was one of our linen journals with my painting on the cover. She also bought one of Sarah's ceramic incense holders, and she chose the crane engraving, which I really love. And because she's our very first customer, we really wanted to send a gift with this. So I've put aside 2 of our incense to go with her incense holder. The first one is Dali, which is wild iris and snow, and it's such a unique floral fragrance. The next one for her is Jeju, which is a light citrus of hellebong and mist. And then to go with her incense holder, she also picked up a matching crane matcha bowl. It looks so beautiful as a set, and it's absolutely perfect because she also got one of the ceramic side plates. So they all have the same crackle brown glaze and the crane engravings on them as well. And I just can't wait to get this to her. We started organising our very first orders, and I should probably mention that our online store is open now, which I'll link below. If you don't see your delivery location, please just message us to check if we can ship to you, because we can definitely send out things like ceramics and journals to most countries. We just might not have it all set up yet. Our apartment was completely filled with boxes and packaging, so after the launch I really just wanted to put everything away. Jace made us some new shelves, and it was really good to get everything off the ground. I also hadn't given anything to my family yet, so we took our reed diffusers to my popo the next day. She chose the cherry blossom and green tea scent, which is one that my sister originally mixed. We got to meet a lot of people, but barely got to hang out with anyone individually at the launch. Chi is a photographer and she has a shoot nearby today, so I thought it would be perfect to make lunch and thank her for all of her photos. We actually ended up chatting here for over 9 hours. I started planning an artwork based on our moon vase at the launch, and also filled the apartment with fresh flowers to host everyone for the end of the year. I used some brown glass, which was a sample of our candle jar, and some ikebana spikes to make a chrysanthemum arrangement. It's Sarah's last day in Sydney before she goes back to London, and it's also my birthday tomorrow, so Jace is going to be cooking us a huge dinner tonight to celebrate, and we're also having one of Sarah's closest friends, Yuna, coming over as well. One of the first plates that Sarah showed me was actually designed for her friend, and I think it's just going to be such a special night. The next thing I wanted to share was a gift that I got for Sarah. It's a book called Diamond Mountains about travel and nostalgia in Korean art. And from what I've seen so far, it's filled with the most beautiful landscape paintings of a particular mountain range in Korea, which it looks like has been painted for centuries. But from what I've read so far, it seems like since the partition of North and South Korea in 1945, the mountains became really inaccessible, and now a lot of these artworks are kind of surrounded by a feeling of loss and longing. I felt like Sarah probably already had a lot of books or materials to do with ceramics, but we always come back to a lot of landscapes and symbols in our art, so I thought that this could be a really nice addition to her coffee table. I also decided to write a little card since the launch event, and I used our stamp to put our logo on it. It's actually the most beautiful paper, which was hand printed by Kami in Melbourne, and I may as well just read it out because I've kind of forgotten what I said. But it says, "Dear Sarah, I feel like this is the first time that I've taken a second to process what we've actually been able to make together this year. I loved what you said about Yuli being a point in time in our creative journey and also in our friendship. Maybe this can be something that we look back on one day as the beginning, when we had our first event in the Chinese Friendship Garden, when Leo, Jace, Annie and Dan carried every single thing there for us, when Ealing tested candles and helped with the brushstroke on our logo, and when we started to get our first packaging and shelving. It also doesn't feel like the beginning at all because all of it makes so much sense in our lives. Thank you for always being the most supportive friend and so open to run with absolutely any new idea. You're so idealistic but grounded and practical at the same time, and I feel like that really shows in the things you make because it all comes out like a very polished, well thought out dream. You've really taught me that anything is possible, not just in general, but truly for my own creativity as well. We can spend a lot of time in our own head thinking about how to do something, but nothing is more impactful and decisive as sharing our ideas and being so excited to see where they could go. I can't thank you enough for creating this version of 2025. If you've watched this, thank you so much for spending time here. It would be great if you could subscribe to this channel for more videos and check out the links to Yuli Kiln below. But in the meantime, I hope it's just been a nice place to unwind.